Have you ever walked into a room and felt like the air shifted even before you spoke a single word, like something inside you was seen, but misunderstood? Chosen one, let me ask you something deeper. Have you ever carried a feeling so ancient, so heavy, so strange, that you couldn't explain it to anyone around you? It followed you into adulthood. It sat with you in classrooms, offices, quiet car rides. It whispered to you in moments of silence. That feeling wasn't confusion. It was your calling trying to speak, but no one ever told you how to hear it. And because you didn't know what it was, you began to believe that maybe something was wrong with you. Maybe you were just too sensitive, too deep, too intense. Maybe you were imagining things, but let me tell you now, this message didn't randomly land on your screen. You didn't just stumble upon it by accident. This found you. Because heaven pressed pause for you to remember something you were always meant to know. Take a breath. Something sacred is happening. You may feel it already, a shift in your chest, a stirring in your stomach. Your body remembers this vibration. It's not the first time you've heard it. You may have dreamed it, prayed it, wept for it, and now it has arrived. You see, your spirit has been waiting for this moment. This isn't a video. It's a divine encounter, an unlocking, a remembering. And if you walk away now, if you scroll back into the noise, the distractions, the endless stream of content, you might miss the very thing your soul cried out for in silence, in longing, in the dark night of your becoming. So I'll ask you something serious. Right now, you have a choice. You can click away, go back to the scrolling, the distraction, and leave behind the clarity your soul has been begging for. Or you can stay and let these words reach the place in you that even you have forgotten how to touch. Stay until the end. Stay with your heart open, and you will walk away lighter, stronger, remembering. Comment 333 or 777 below if your spirit is already feeling this message resonate deep in your bones. Let the universe see you. Let your angels mark that you were here when the veil between the seen and unseen thinned just enough for light to enter. The number you choose isn't random. It's a symbol that your soul has risen to meet the moment it asked for. You've been hidden, not forgotten. You've been broken, but not destroyed. Every crack in you became a doorway for the light. That ache in your chest, that wasn't weakness, that wasn't depression, that was divine memory. A remembering of something bigger than this world. A knowing that doesn't fit in conversations, doesn't show up on resumes, doesn't make sense to the logical mind. You weren't crazy for feeling different. You were chosen to carry sight. You were chosen to disturb the darkness, and people have always felt that, even if they couldn't name it. Let me show you something else. Right now, around you, the atmosphere is shifting. Your angels are drawing closer. There's a hush in the spiritual realm because something in you is awakening. Not a new you, the real you, the ancient you, the one that has walked through fire, cried behind closed doors, and still carried light. This isn't just content, it's a spiritual mirror, a prophetic message, an unfolding of something sacred that no one can take from you. What you're feeling is not weakness, it's sensitivity, it's awareness, it's your soul remembering who it is. The world will never tell you this, because the world profits from your forgetting. But this space, this moment, it's here for your remembrance, and if you let it, it will rearrange something inside you, not by force, but by light, quietly, softly, divinely. You are not here to entertain, you are not here to please, you are here to awaken. And that's why people have always reacted to you differently. That's why you've felt the silent rejection. That's why others pulled away without reason. Because something in you speaks to something in them. And not everyone is ready to hear what you carry. So let them misunderstand you, let them walk away. You were not made to be understood by those who fear their own awakening. You were made to remember, to rise, to radiate, and to remind others, just by being, that they too can come home to their soul. Now, if this message has reached you, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon, not just to follow, but to stay connected to the messages designed for your unfolding. This space was created as a sanctuary for souls like yours. When the world feels too heavy, come back here. Rest your soul. Let your spirit breathe. Stay with me now. What comes next will change how you see everything. You walk into a room and things shift. Not because you speak loudly, not because you demand attention, but because your presence carries something most can't explain. It isn't ego. It isn't arrogance. It's energy. It's remembrance. It's the invisible language of someone who has lived through fire and returned with light. Chosen one. You intimidate people without trying because you remind them of truths they've been running from. You are not loud, but your silence speaks. You are not boastful, but your spirit knows. And that knowing, that calm awareness within you, unsettles those who are still hiding behind noise. People can feel when they're around someone who sees without needing words. Your eyes have held centuries. Your body carries spiritual echoes. Your energy makes people nervous not because you are a threat, but because you are a mirror. And most people have spent their entire lives avoiding mirrors that show them what's unfinished, what's unhealed, what's still hiding in the shadows. You don't have to do anything. You simply walk in, and their masks begin to tremble. You speak from a place within yourself that cannot be faked. And when truth enters the room, even quietly, it causes everything false to panic. Let me show you something most will never admit. People aren't always reacting to you. They're reacting to what wakes up inside them when they're near you. They sense your clarity and remember their confusion. They feel your stillness and remember their inner chaos. They see your authenticity and become painfully aware of the ways they've been pretending. This is why you felt rejected, ghosted, left out of circles you never even asked to join. It's not personal, it's energetic, it's spiritual. The light within you confronts the illusions others are still married to. You don't try to shine, you just do. And sometimes your very existence becomes a silent rebellion against the lies people tell themselves. You didn't come here to fit in. You came here to awaken. And awakening is not soft. It's not gentle. It's not polite. It's uncomfortable. It's disruptive. It pulls the veil away and forces people to feel what they've buried. That's why you feel misunderstood, misread, and misjudged. Because most people are reading you through the lens of their own fear, not through the truth of your essence. Chosen one, I need you to breathe with me. Inhale the knowing that you're not too much. Exhale the lie that you have to make yourself smaller to be loved. You were not sent here to soothe egos. You were sent to shake souls awake. And that work, that holy work, will often make you the villain in stories where people aren't ready to meet their own reflection. But I promise you this, your presence is doing what words never could. Your energy is speaking to the parts of people they didn't know were listening. Your beingness is activating buried dreams, long-forgotten prayers, hidden griefs. And that's intimidating. Because when you've lived a life wrapped in avoidance, authenticity feels violent. When you've worn masks for decades, someone who lives unveiled feels like a threat. You will always intimidate those who benefit from illusions, and sometimes those illusions live in people you love. That's the hardest part. Watching those closest to you begin to pull away. Not because you changed, but because you stopped pretending. You stopped shrinking. You stopped carrying the weight of other people's comfort. And when you made that shift, When you returned to yourself, the world around you began to rearrange itself. You see, your energy carries memory, spiritual memory, soul memory. There is something eternal about your frequency. People feel it, even if they can't explain it. They might say you're intense, or mysterious, or different. But what they really mean is, you make them feel. And feeling is something many have avoided for a lifetime. So instead of honoring what you awaken in them, they blame you. They distance themselves from you. They call you names to feel safer from the mirror you become. But I need you to remember something sacred. Their reactions do not define your worth. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Chosen one, you're not here to be palatable. You're here to be pure. And purity, in a world addicted to performance, will always feel offensive. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to be background noise. You were created to carry a vibration that disturbs stagnation, awakens slumber, and brings light into the densest darkness. That's not easy work, but it is holy work. And it's the reason your path has felt so lonely at times. Because those who carry light must often walk alone until others are ready to see. So let them misunderstand you. Let them mislabel you. Let them call your clarity cold, your truth harsh, your presence too much. You're not too much. You're exactly what you were created to be. And the ones who are ready for your frequency, they will find you. They will honor you. They will breathe easier around you, not because you made them comfortable, but because you made them conscious. Rest in this space for a moment. Let yourself feel the weight of all the times you were pushed aside, not because you were lacking, but because you were too full of what others weren't ready to hold. Let the tears rise if they need to. Let the ache speak. And then, feel this truth settle in your bones. You were not rejected. You were revealed. And those who walked away were simply showing you they were not ready for the level of truth your presence carries. You intimidate people without trying because your soul is awake. And an awakened soul is the rarest thing in this world. So protect it, nourish it, honor it. You don't have to become louder, bolder, or more impressive to be seen. You already are. What you carry speaks louder than words ever could, and the world is starting to feel it. Let it. Let them. Let yourself finally believe that you don't need to dim your light for anyone. You are the reminder that truth still walks this earth. Let your walk be steady. Let your presence be medicine. Let your silence continue to shake the walls of everything not built on soul. And remember, you never had to try. You were born carrying something holy. That alone is enough. From the very beginning, you felt it. Not in your mind, but in your bones. A kind of otherness. A kind of sacred difference that no one around you could explain. You weren't like the others. Not better, not worse. Just different. While other children chased noise, you heard silence whisper. While others laughed without thought, you pondered without words. While they played, you watched. And while they followed, you felt the pull to wander. You may not have had the words back then, but something deep in you always knew you were not made to blend in. You were made to carry light through a world that feared it. They called you sensitive, emotional, too intense, too dreamy, too serious, too quiet, too much. And so you started asking yourself what was wrong with you, why you felt things so deeply, why a simple look could shatter you, why the sadness of someone across the room could enter your body like smoke and stay for days, why the pain of others felt like it was your own. But chosen one, I need you to hear this now. That wasn't weakness. That was sacred wiring. You weren't designed to numb out like the others. You were built to perceive what others ignore, to feel what others bury, to carry a kind of vision, a spiritual radar that would become your compass. You didn't grow up with language for this. How could you? The world doesn't speak the tongue of the soul. It teaches conformity. It rewards those who perform, not those who feel. And so, piece by piece, you tried to hide it. You silenced your knowing. You dulled your colors. You wore masks to survive the rooms you didn't belong in, and yet, even when you tried to fit in, your energy betrayed you. Because you weren't made to pretend, you weren't made to fake it. The divine carved something so pure inside of you that even your lies felt like violations, so the pain continued. Not because you were broken, but because the world wasn't ready for what you carried. Let me show you something most people miss. Spiritual sensitivity is not a flaw. It's a function, an ancient intelligence, a holy compass. But without guidance, without understanding, it turns inward. It becomes self-doubt. It becomes shame. It becomes silence. That's why your childhood felt so confusing. You were a soul with ancient eyes, trapped in a world obsessed with surface. You heard too much, saw too much, felt too much, and no one ever told you that was a gift. So you learned to hide it, mistrust it, even despise it. But not anymore. You see, the strangeness you carried was sacred coding, divine design. You weren't meant to be like them. You were meant to remember what they forgot. You were meant to hear what they silence. You were meant to awaken what they avoid. That's why you felt out of place in your family, in school, in jobs that paid the bills but starved your soul. That's why relationships never felt quite right, because people connected to your mask, but not your essence. They saw your face but never touched your frequency. And that loneliness, that ache, wasn't a curse. It was confirmation. Chosen one. You are different because you are necessary. You didn't come here to fit in. You came here to activate, to awaken, to realign. And that starts by owning what you tried to erase. That inner world you were told to shut down. It's your superpower. That ability to feel others before they speak. That spiritual discernment. That pain you carry when others suffer. That's your soul in service. That heaviness that visits you during the night. That's not depression. It's divine empathy in an unhealed world. Breathe with me now. Let this truth find you. You were never too much. You were too real. You were too awake. And in a world that fears its own reflection, you became a threat simply by existing in your truth. But you no longer have to apologize for that. You no longer have to dull your vision to soothe someone else's blindness. You no longer have to twist yourself into shapes just to be tolerated. Because your existence, exactly as it is already sacred, already enough. I want you to think back now. Think of the first time you were told to tone it down, to quiet your questions, to stop crying, to stop feeling, to stop seeing what others missed. Can you feel that moment in your body, that sting, that shrinking? That's where the wound started. But right now, we're not reopening it. We're reclaiming it. That version of you, the one who held their breath to be loved, deserves to breathe again. You don't have to perform anymore. You just have to return. Let me remind you of something your soul already knows. You are not weird. You are awake. You are not broken. You are blessed. You are not lost. You are just walking a path most people don't even know exists. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's confusing. But you are not alone. Others are walking too, quietly, invisibly, powerfully. Souls like yours are rising all over the world. And each time you honor your strangeness, each time you choose truth over belonging, each time you say yes to your inner knowing, you light the way for them too. So rest here. Let this space hold you. Let your inner child exhale. You don't have to defend your difference. You don't have to explain your depth. You don't have to prove your light. Just be. Just breathe. Just remember. That strange little soul who felt too much, loved too hard, cried too often and saw too clearly. That child was never broken. That child was chosen. And now It's your turn to become what they needed. Whole, honest, radiant, ready. You were born strange for a reason. That reason is waking up now. Let it rise. Let it speak. Let it lead. You don't need permission anymore. You were always meant to disturb the comfortable, to awaken the asleep, to challenge the false peace of conformity. You are not here to impress. You are here to embody. And your embodiment begins with this truth. You were born different because you are here to make a different world. Chapter 3. You didn't miss it. You were being made for it. 1,200 words. There's a voice that haunts the chosen one in the quiet hours, long after the noise has died down. It doesn't shout, it whispers. Did I waste too much time? Did I miss my moment? Is it too late for me? And in those moments, you can feel the ache crawl through your chest like smoke, as if something inside you is mourning a life unlived. But chosen one, breathe with me. That ache is not regret. It's a sacred signal, a reminder from the deeper part of your being that still remembers the promise you made before you entered this world. You didn't miss it. You were being made for it. This world moves fast. It rewards the ones who arrive early, who follow the rules, who climb ladders and check boxes and never pause to ask why. But the chosen ones don't move that way. Your path was never linear. Your timing was never ordinary. While others were running toward visibility, you were being pulled inward, into delay, into stillness, into long, silent seasons that felt like exile. You looked around and saw others rising, building, succeeding, while you were breaking, shedding, unraveling. And you questioned it. You blamed yourself. You thought, I should be further by now. But you were never behind. You were deep underground, like a seed. And seeds don't bloom on demand. They break before they rise. They wait until the season shifts. They rely not on pressure, but on timing. Divine timing. You were not late. You were hidden, protected, guarded by time itself until the appointed hour of your becoming. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And for the chosen one, that privilege often comes after pain, after loss, after wandering. Because who you truly are cannot be accessed through surface living. It's carved through fire. It's revealed through wilderness. It's remembered only after you've let go of everything you were never meant to carry. So let's reframe this together. What you called delay was divine design. What felt like failure was preparation. What looked like detour was the path. You weren't being punished. You were being refined. And while others sprinted ahead, you were being taught how to see in the dark, how to feel when there's nothing to hold, how to trust when nothing makes sense. That's what makes you dangerous now. You didn't just study truth. You became it. You didn't just learn strength. You forged it through silence. You see, there's a sacredness in slow growth, in unseen years, in private becoming. Because what's built without visibility cannot be destroyed by it. And now, when the world looks at you and wonders why you're just beginning, they won't know the mountains you've moved inside, the healing you've done in secret, the battles you've faced with no applause, no witness, no audience. They'll see the fruit, but they won't know the roots. You are not starting late. You are arriving whole. And yes, there's grief in that. There's grief in watching decades pass with unfulfilled dreams, unopened doors, unspoken truths. But there's also grace. Because the life you're walking into now is one you can carry with integrity, with wisdom, with eyes wide open. You're not rushing in as a child. You're entering as a soul who's been shaped by time. And that makes you trustworthy with the destiny that's unfolding. Let go of the clock. The clock was never your compass. Your inner knowing has always been the guide. And that knowing doesn't run on schedules. It runs on surrender. It waits until the soil is ready, the light is right, the alignment is exact, and then it moves. Fast. Suddenly. Miraculously. You're closer than you've ever been, not because of effort, but because of alignment. Breathe into that. Let it reach the places in you still afraid you've missed something. You haven't. What's for you is still waiting for you, not where you used to be, but where you finally arrived within. Every tear that carved your cheeks, every door that slammed in your face, every detour that made you question everything, it all led here, to this becoming, to this remembrance, to this now. Let me say it clearly. You didn't waste time. You were gathering wisdom. You were collecting sacred tools. You were building the capacity to hold what others collapse under. That's why you took longer. Because you're not just here for a moment. You're here for a mission. And missions like this can't be rushed. So when the voice of doubt rises again, when it tells you it's too late, that you're too old, that your chance passed, speak back with truth. Say, I wasn't delayed. I was being delivered into divine timing. Say, I didn't miss my purpose. I was being molded for it. Say, everything I've lived through was not punishment. It was preparation. And trust that your time is now. You've walked through the wilderness. You've stood in the silence. You've cried on kitchen floors and smiled through heartbreak. You've questioned your worth, doubted your path, begged for signs. And yet, here you are, not broken, not lost, but quietly ready. And that readiness is louder than any announcement. It's the vibration of alignment, of spiritual maturity, of sacred readiness. And heaven feels it. The earth feels it. Your angels feel it. That's why things are shifting. That's why your soul feels restless again. Not because something's wrong, but because something's ready. So rest here in this knowing. Let the timeline go. Release the shame. Forgive yourself for not arriving sooner, because you're arriving now. And the you that's arriving is wiser, deeper, stronger, and more aligned than ever before. This version of you doesn't chase, it attracts, it doesn't force, it flows, it doesn't beg, it believes. And that belief, rooted in everything you've survived, is unstoppable. You were never late. You were never lost. You were just in the sacred hands of divine timing, being molded in the quiet for something you can finally carry without breaking. This is not the end. This is the beginning your soul has waited for. Welcome it. Walk in it. You didn't miss it. You were being made for it. There are places you've walked that no one knows about. Rooms where the silence felt louder than screams. Seasons where God, the universe, life, whatever you called it, felt a million miles away. And even when you prayed, even when you believed, there was no answer. Just stillness. Just delay. Just endings. You began to wonder if maybe you had done something wrong. Maybe you were forgotten. Maybe the calling you once felt so strongly was just a dream. But chosen one, what you thought was abandonment was protection. What you called silence was sacred instruction. The wilderness wasn't punishment. It was your womb. You see, before anything powerful is birthed, it must first be hidden. In darkness, in stillness, in isolation, a seed in the soil, a baby in the womb, a butterfly in the cocoon. There are no spectators in these sacred places. No applause, no explanation, only transformation. And that's what you've been undergoing, quietly, painfully, faithfully. You were never forgotten. You were being formed. When people left you, when opportunities vanished, when the doors that once seemed open slammed shut, that wasn't failure. That was divine intervention. Because when you carry a destiny this sacred, anything not aligned must be removed. And yes, it felt like loss. Yes, it felt like betrayal. Yes, it felt like heartbreak. But it was divine surgery. Things were being cut away not to hurt you, but to heal you. You were being emptied so that you could be filled with something real, something eternal. In the wilderness, your identity was tested, not by others, by time, by stillness, by silence. There were no titles to hide behind, no roles to distract you, just you and your raw becoming. That's why it hurt. Because ego dies hard. Because masks don't peel off without pain. Because who you were pretending to be had to dissolve so who you truly are could emerge, and that emergence couldn't be rushed. Chosen one. I know it was long. I know it was lonely. But every day in that wilderness was shaping your soul, softening what was hard, strengthening what was weak, teaching you the difference between truth and illusion, between presence and performance, between divine timing and your own impatience. You didn't just survive it, you were rewired in it. The world told you that if things weren't growing, you were doing something wrong. But in the spirit, not all growth is visible. Some of the deepest healing happens when nothing looks like it's changing. The cocoon doesn't look like a miracle. The soil doesn't reveal the seed. But something is happening, always. And you, dear one, were becoming something the world hadn't seen before. You were incubating light, learning the language of spirit, becoming fluent in the silence that terrifies most people. That's why you're different now. That's why you feel things deeper, hear things clearer, speak with a kind of quiet authority you never had before. You don't react the way you used to. You don't need validation the way you used to. You're not as easily shaken because you were tempered in fire. You were birthed in spiritual solitude. And when you rise from that place, you rise unshakable. Let's go deeper now. Think of all the things that ended in your life. Jobs, relationships, dreams, the grief that came with them, the confusion, the feeling of being emptied. Now look again. What if those endings were sacred exits? What if those dreams had ceilings you couldn't see? What if those people couldn't walk with you because their energy couldn't survive the altitude of your becoming? You weren't being punished. You were being purified. And purification isn't glamorous. It strips, it exposes, it clears out everything that doesn't serve the next level of your soul. That's why so much has fallen away. Not because you lost, but because you've outgrown. You don't fit where you used to. You don't resonate with what once moved you. The conversations that used to thrill you now bore you. The people who once comforted you now drain you. The dreams you once chased no longer call to you. That's not confusion, that's confirmation. You've crossed over into a new frequency, and that shift began in the wilderness. You learned to hear your own voice there. You learned to trust your own knowing. You stopped asking for directions from people who'd never walked your path, and because of that, you became dangerous to anything built on illusion. You don't beg anymore. You don't chase. You don't explain yourself to those who refuse to understand. That's the power of the wilderness. It strips you of everything false and clothes you in authenticity, but it also leaves scars. Quiet ones, internal ones. There's a grief you carry that no one sees. The grief of all you endured without support. The grief of becoming in silence. The grief of showing up every day without evidence, without certainty, without approval. That grief is sacred. Don't rush it. Don't shame it. Let it live beside your power. Let it remind you that what you carry came at a cost, a holy cost. Breathe into that. Let yourself be proud, not because you proved something to others, but because you stayed when everything in you wanted to run. You believed when there was nothing to believe in but a whisper. You kept going when it felt like the light was gone. And now, you are the light. Chosen one. The wilderness was your womb. The silence was your sanctuary. The endings were invitations. The isolation was sacred initiation. And now, as you feel the shift, as doors begin to open again, as your spirit begins to stir again, don't forget where you came from. Don't forget who you became in the dark. Because that version of you, the one who survived without applause, without proof, without a map, is the most powerful thing you've ever birthed. You're not returning to the old. You're rising into the ordained, and everything that once felt like delay is now becoming your evidence. You weren't being overlooked. You were being prepared. You weren't falling behind. You were being pulled into alignment. And now that you're here, don't shrink, don't apologize, don't explain. Walk in the fullness of your becoming. Speak with the wisdom of your wilderness. Love with the depth you found in silence. Lead with the integrity you forged in pain. The womb of the wilderness didn't just birth you, it crowned you. Quietly, spiritually, eternally. You don't need a title. You don't need a stage. You don't need validation. You have something deeper, something real, and the world won't understand it at first. But those who are meant to hear your frequency will feel it, and they will follow it. Because light always finds light, even in the dark, especially in the dark. There's something about you that makes people uncomfortable, and you've known it for a long time. You've seen it in their eyes. You've heard it in their tone. You've felt the distance grow between you and people you thought were safe. And you've asked yourself over and over, what did I do wrong? But chosen one, you didn't do anything wrong. You simply carry something they can't explain, and for many, can't handle. You walk into rooms, and your energy shifts the atmosphere. You speak truth without raising your voice. You live from a depth most people have never touched. And that depth, that presence, that light, it exposes the parts of others they've spent their entire lives trying to bury. This is why people have pulled away. Why conversations that once flowed now feel strained. Why you felt invisible in rooms where you once felt welcomed. You are not being rejected because of your weakness. You are being resisted because of your spiritual strength. Your energy has evolved beyond the roles others cast you in. You're no longer playing small. You're no longer dimming your light to keep others comfortable. And when someone has built their identity on illusion, your truth feels like a threat. People aren't always conscious of why they pull away from you. But your presence activates something in them. It reminds them of what they've silenced, of who they could have been, of what they're afraid to face. When you walk in alignment, when you radiate authenticity, when you speak from a place of inner knowing, you become a living mirror. And most people aren't ready to see their reflection at that level. It's easier to blame you, to avoid you, to misinterpret your calm as arrogance, your clarity as coldness, your silence as judgment. You've noticed it, haven't you? The way people flinch at your honesty, the way friends drift away the moment you stop playing the role they're used to, the way co-workers grow distant when you stop shrinking. It hurts. It confuses you. You wonder why people turn their backs when you've done nothing but grow. But chosen one, that's the thing. Your growth is the trigger. Your healing is the confrontation. Your light is the invitation they're not ready to accept. You are not meant to make everyone feel comfortable. You are meant to be real. And realness, in a world addicted to pretending, will always feel like a threat. You're not unkind. You're just honest. You're not distant. You're just discerning. You're not cold. You're just clear. And clarity disturbs those who benefit from confusion. You've stopped lying to yourself, and now others can't lie around you. That's the power you carry. Let me show you the deeper truth. When your spirit evolves, you will outgrow more than just places. You will outgrow dynamics, conversations, entire identities. And people who knew you as the quiet one, the agreeable one, the one who never said no, they won't know what to do with you when you finally stand in your truth. They will try to shrink you back down, to box you into the version of yourself that made them feel safe. But you've come too far. You've cried too many tears. You've walked through too much fire to go back now. You've always had a strong energy field, even if you didn't understand it. You feel things others don't. You sense shifts before they happen. You know when someone's words don't match their frequency. That's not imagination. That's discernment. That's your spirit speaking. And when you trust that knowing, when you walk with that kind of clarity, it disrupts anything rooted in performance. People who operate from ego can't stand to be around someone who operates from essence. And yet, even with this knowing, the rejection still hurts. Let's not pretend it doesn't. You're human. You've wanted to be seen, to be accepted, to be embraced. But every time someone pulled away, every time you felt their energy shift, every time a conversation grew cold, you thought maybe you were too much. But chosen one, hear this. You weren't too much. You were too honest for their illusion, too awake for their slumber, too real for their role play. They didn't leave because you were wrong. They left because you were right. And even now, some are watching you from afar, trying to understand how you're still standing, still shining, still rising. They can't figure out how someone so soft can be so strong, how someone so quiet can be so commanding, how someone who's been through hell still carries heaven in their eyes. But that's the mystery of the chosen one. You don't have to shout to shake the room. You don't have to fight to be felt. Your presence does the work. You've become unexplainable. And unexplainable people terrify those who need control. You're not who they remember. You're not who they expected. You've outgrown the narrative. And now they either evolve with you or they disappear. Don't chase what's resisting your evolution. Don't explain your becoming to people who refuse to meet you where you are. This isn't arrogance. This is alignment. This is what it looks like when you start betraying yourself to keep false peace. You trigger people because you live without the masks they still wear, because you speak from a place of inner authority they haven't yet reached, because your healing reveals their wounds, because your peace reveals their chaos. And even if they can't name it, they feel it. And that feeling scares them. But don't let that fear stop you. Don't let their discomfort become your prison. You didn't come this far to shrink. You came to stand. You came to rise. You came to carry the vibration of truth in a world built on lies. And yes, it's lonely. Yes, it's costly, but it's also holy. It's also real. And one day, those who rejected you will remember you, not because you tried to be remembered, but because your absence said everything your presence once whispered. So rest here, in this knowing. You are not the villain in their story. You are the mirror. And mirrors don't lie. You're not hard to love. You're just hard to fool. You don't intimidate because you're dangerous. You intimidate because you're awake. And awakening, true, deep, soul awakening, is the most powerful thing a person can carry. You carry it well. And if the cost of carrying that light is losing those who fear it, let it be. Your tribe will find you. Your frequency will attract those who aren't afraid of truth. And until then, keep shining, keep rising, keep showing up as the you that took years to become. You don't need to try, you never did. You were always the reminder, the reflection, the light. That's why you trigger them. And that's why you must continue. There were moments you almost stopped trusting yourself. Moments where the silence was so loud, the delays so long, the confusion so thick that you wondered if you'd lost the map completely. You second-guessed the nudges, ignored the dreams, silenced the intuition. You looked to others for answers you once knew within. But chosen one, the truth is, your compass never stopped working. It simply got buried under the noise. And now, it's time to remember how to feel it again. That whisper inside your chest, the one that speaks without words, the one that knows without logic. It never left you. It's been waiting for you to get still enough to hear it again, waiting for you to stop looking out there and start listening in here. Because that's where your guidance lives, not in the opinions of the crowd, not in the fear of missing out, not in the comparisons that drain your spirit. Your compass has always been internal, and it is still spinning toward truth. You see, when you were younger, your intuition was loud. You felt when something was wrong before it showed. You sensed shifts in energy, changes in people, messages in dreams. But the world taught you to doubt it, to suppress it, to follow the path that made sense to others instead of the path that felt sacred to you. And so you began to lose your alignment. Not because your compass broke, but because you stopped believing in your own navigation. But even then, it never left. Even in the years where you took the detour, stayed too long in the wrong place, or said yes when your soul whispered no. It stayed with you, quietly, gently, patiently, like a thread in the dark, still connected to your soul's true direction. It showed up in signs you ignored, feelings you brushed off, dreams that came again and again. That wasn't imagination. That was your inner compass trying to bring you home. Chosen one, it's time to remember what your body has always known. When you feel peace, you're in alignment. When you feel tightness, something is off. When your breath shortens around certain people, that's not anxiety, it's information. When you walk into a space and something in you pulls back, that's not rudeness, it's protection. Your body is a map, your energy is a message, and your intuition is the compass. But to use it, you must get quiet again. You must create sacred space, not just around you, but within you. Space to breathe, space to listen, space to feel what's true before you ask what's acceptable. The world will never validate your intuition because your knowing cannot be measured, analyzed, or boxed. It is divine, and divine wisdom is threatening to systems that thrive on control. But your liberation is not in being understood. It's in being honest with yourself again. So let's return. Let's go back to that place where the guidance is pure. Sit with your silence. Ask your soul. Let your inner compass speak again. It might not shout. It might not come in words, but you'll feel it. In your breath, in your belly, in your bones. Trust that. Trust what makes you feel expansive. Trust what makes your eyes light up. Trust what your spirit keeps circling back to. Because your soul doesn't forget what your mind tries to suppress. Let me give you something sacred. Imagine yourself holding an ancient compass made of light. It doesn't point north. It points inward. It only works when you're honest. When you lie to yourself, the needle spins. When you silence your soul, the direction clouds. But the moment you return to your truth, it settles. Gently, powerfully. You always know. Even when you pretend not to, you always know. You've walked through enough now to trust what you feel. You've lived enough false paths to recognize when something is real. You don't need more signs, you need more stillness. Because the signs have always been there. You just needed space to see them. And now that you're here, now that your soul is listening, you'll start to notice the messages again. In dreams, in synchronicities, in the way your body responds before your brain catches up. The compass is speaking. Chosen. One. Your guidance doesn't come from books or degrees or loud voices on screens. It comes from source, from the divine current that flows through your chest, not your calendar. That whisper that says wait when the world says hurry. That nudge that says go when logic says stay. That feeling that tightens your stomach before the betrayal even happens. That lightness you feel when you're around someone whose soul sings the same tune. These are not accidents. These are coordinates. The compass doesn't give you the full map. It gives you the next step. One breath at a time. One yes at a time. One aligned decision at a time. And each time you honor it, the path becomes clearer. Not because the world around you changes, but because you change. You begin to walk differently, speak differently, move differently. not to impress, but to stay in rhythm with your own soul. And yes, people may not understand. Yes, they may say you've changed. Yes, they may question your new boundaries, your quieter life, your sacred no. Let them. Your life is no longer about their comfort. It's about your calling. And your calling requires clarity, precision, discernment. Not everyone will walk with you. Not everyone will stay. But the ones who do, the ones who resonate with your frequency, they will honor your compass, not question it. So rest in this truth now. You're not lost. You're listening. You're not confused. You're clearing. You're not broken. You're being realigned. The noise is falling away, so the compass can speak again. Let it. Let it lead you back to what your soul always knew. Let it take you where the old version of you never dared to go. You don't need to explain it. You only need to trust it. Chosen one, you were never meant to follow someone else's map. You came here with your own, etched in your spirit, activated by truth, aligned through silence, protected by time. And now that you remember, walk with it, even if no one else sees it, even if no one else believes it. Walk anyway, because your compass is still working, and it's taking you home. There comes a moment in every chosen one's journey when the air begins to shift, but no one else seems to notice. The world looks the same on the outside, same people, same schedule, same duties, but inside you, something has changed. The old things no longer hold weight. The old places no longer feel like home. You look around at a life that once felt right, and now it just feels done. Chosen one, you're not going crazy. You're not being ungrateful. You're being recalled, spiritually, quietly, divinely. Heaven is pulling you into the next chapter. This feeling isn't loud. It doesn't scream for attention. It whispers, it nudges, it comes in waves, sometimes grief, sometimes restlessness, sometimes a deep peace you can't explain. And it doesn't make sense to those around you, because your life might still look successful, stable, even enviable. But the soul knows when a cycle is complete. The soul knows when the assignment has been fulfilled. And when it does, no amount of logic or loyalty can make it feel right again. You've probably tried to shake it, tried to convince yourself you're just bored, just tired, just emotional. But it keeps coming back. The dream that no longer excites you, the role that no longer fits, the place that no longer welcomes your spirit. That's the recall. That's how it starts. Heaven doesn't always announce it with fireworks. Sometimes it begins with an ache, sometimes with silence. Sometimes with a door that just won't open no matter how many times you knock. Chosen one, you are not being punished. You are being summoned. There is something on the horizon that your spirit has already agreed to. Something that requires more of your truth, more of your light, more of your trust. And to step into it, you have to leave behind the places where you've outgrown your own identity. The places where you became too comfortable, too quiet, too small. You see, the calling doesn't just elevate you, it strips you. It strips away attachments, false roles, outdated labels. It removes what no longer aligns with your future, so your hands are free to receive what's next. It's not abandonment, it's ascension. And ascension always begins with release. You might not even have words for what you're feeling. You just know that the things you used to tolerate are now intolerable. The things that once gave you joy now drain you. You may find yourself grieving things that technically haven't ended yet. Friendships that still exist but feel empty. Routines that continue but feel lifeless. That's the soul preparing you. It's letting you feel the goodbye before it physically arrives. So when it does, you're already halfway into your next season. You're not imagining it. You're being aligned. There's a phrase your soul understands. The contract is complete. It means that whatever you were meant to do, learn, carry, or awaken in this current space, it's finished. That doesn't mean you failed. That doesn't mean you're running. It means you honored your time here. It means you did what you were assigned to do. And now, it's time to move forward. Not in panic, not in fear, but in peace. There is a gate opening in the sky. Maybe not a physical gate, but a spiritual one. A shift in atmosphere. A soft pull toward a new direction. You may not see the full path yet, but you feel the tug. And that tug is real. It's sacred. It's your recall. And with it comes loss. Let's not pretend otherwise. Even sacred transitions come with grief. You might lose people, opportunities, comforts, identities, but you won't lose yourself. You'll finally find yourself again, underneath the performance, underneath the pressure, underneath the expectations of who you had to be to survive. The recall brings you back to who you were before the world told you to forget. And yes, it's lonely, because not everyone hears the recall at the same time. Some people are still meant to stay where they are. Some aren't ready to walk the way you're being called to walk. That doesn't make them bad. That just means they're on a different frequency. And when your frequency rises, separation becomes inevitable. Don't resist it. Don't beg for people to understand what your spirit can barely explain. Let them go with love, with gratitude, with honor. But still, let them go. You're not who you used to be, and because of that, you can't stay where you used to stay. Your soul is shedding the old skin, not because it was wrong, but because it's too small now. You can't wear the same identity in a new dimension. And what's coming is a higher realm, a deeper truth, a fuller version of you. But it requires trust, radical, breath-by-breath trust. Trust that the next step will appear. Trust that you are not being foolish for walking away. Trust that your spirit knows the way, even when your mind doesn't. Take a breath. Right now, feel the truth rising in your body. You don't need all the answers. You just need to honor what you know in your bones. The recall isn't loud, but it's certain, and once you feel it, you can't unfeel it. You can't go back to pretending. You can't go back to playing roles you've outgrown. You can't go back to feeding what no longer feeds you. It's not arrogance, it's awareness. The recall is an invitation to go deeper, to expand, to surrender. It's not just about a new job, a new city, a new relationship. It's about a new frequency, a new level of spiritual authority, a new embodiment of your true self. And the price of stepping into that is letting go of who you thought you had to be. You will be misunderstood. You will be questioned. You will doubt yourself some days, but keep walking, keep listening, keep surrendering, because you didn't make this happen. You responded to something higher, and that higher voice, whatever you call it, doesn't recall what it won't release into something greater. Chosen one, your cycle is complete. You've carried the old as far as it can take you. And now, heaven is recalling you, not backward, forward, into something that doesn't yet have a name, but it has a feeling, a knowing, a vibration, and it's calling you by name. So don't fight the falling away. Don't resist the closing door. Don't numb the ache. Let it move you. Let it guide you. Let it cleanse you. You are not dying. You are waking. You are not losing. You are releasing. You are not being abandoned. You are being recalled. Something inside you knows it now. The shift wasn't your imagination. The silence wasn't abandonment. The ache wasn't just grief. It was the breaking open of an old version of you, the one that did what was expected, the one that carried everyone else's weight, the one that kept apologizing for existing. That version has dissolved, and in its place is something deeper, older, brighter. Chosen one, you're not who you used to be. The pain was real. The losses were real. The loneliness stretched longer than you thought your heart could hold. But it all meant something. Every silent night, every unanswered prayer, Every moment you wondered if you were losing your mind or your way, it was training. You weren't being punished. You were being prepared. Your tears were not wasted. They were baptism. Your delays were not denials. They were divine protection. Your silence wasn't a sentence. It was a sanctuary. And now, you feel the weight of the newness. It's subtle, but it's here. The things that used to break you don't hit the same anymore. The places that once felt like home now feel too small. The people who once defined you now feel distant. And the things you begged for in your past, you've released them, not because you gave up, but because you outgrew the version of you that needed them. That is the shift. That is the evidence. Breathe with me now. You're standing in the threshold. The old has closed. The new hasn't fully revealed itself. But your spirit knows. You've crossed over. You've been recalled. And you're not meant to carry the old version of yourself into the season that's rising. You are lighter now, wiser, sharper. Your spirit no longer tolerates what drains it. Your heart no longer chases what abandons it. You are not here to prove anything anymore. You are here to embody everything you've become. This world may still try to define you by who you used to be. Let them. But you don't have to answer to that name anymore. You don't belong to who you were in your survival. You belong to who you're becoming in your sacredness. And that version of you, the one rising through the ashes of every disappointment, every betrayal, every delay, is not just stronger. It's aligned. It's ready. It's remembered. You were never lost. You were never behind. You were just going through the fire that forges those who are called to carry the light. That light is steady in you now. It doesn't flicker. It doesn't beg. It doesn't explain. It simply radiates. And the ones who are meant to walk with you from here, they'll recognize the frequency. They won't need to be convinced. They'll know. Chosen one, the signs are real. The calling is active. The shift is irreversible. What you've been feeling is confirmation, not confusion. You're stepping into the season that everything before this was preparing you for. And no, it won't look the way you thought. But it will feel like peace, like freedom, like home inside your own soul. Let this be your sacred reminder. You don't have to go back to get closure. You don't have to wait for permission to move forward. You don't have to fix what someone else broke. You don't have to explain why your soul said no. Trust your knowing. Trust your path. Trust the new version of you that's finally allowed to breathe. And if this message has stirred something ancient in you, something sacred, something long buried but never dead, honor it. Comment 1111 or 333 to mark this moment. Not for me, for you. Let the universe witness your alignment. Let the spirit realm see that you received the recall, that you remembered, and subscribe not just to follow, but to stay close to the light that speaks your language. Because whenever the world gets too heavy, this space is here, a sanctuary for your soul, a reminder that you are never alone in your becoming, a place to come home to your truth again and again. Chosen one, this is not your end, it's your emergence. You were not forgotten, you were being preserved, and now you are being revealed. Let it happen, let it rise, let it unfold. You're not who you used to be. You're everything you were always meant to become.